I mentioned in regard to this extended family. Well, no, I mean the nuclear family, which is kept locked together far past the age in which they should have been out in the world. And in those dinners, or the dinner table in the church in Eugene, I this included the whole all the 10 people in the family, from, I'd say the kids were probably from 30 on down, and the two characteristics of those dinners or meals. On the one hand, there were great shouting matches in which most of these people took out their frustration and very belligerent arguments, and hardly a meal passed in which it didn't end up in some great diatribe between two points of view, which expressed more than anything else well, the need to vent their frustration on somebody. and it turned into shouting matches, which, if there were any outside guests present, were very alarming to the guests.
Was it?
because
Well, are you talking about Eugene now?
In Eugene,
oh,
yeah.
Well, yeah.
And this expressed great passion. But what it was venting was...
The Republican passion?
Beg pardon?
Republican passion?
Oh, yeah. It really didn't make too much difference what the subject matter was. But the conflict of points of view, or the irritation of each other's presence, I think was really the cause of whatever was said.
Mm.
And the other characteristic, I think, was that we followed the habit patterns that had been established much earlier, in which Papa sat at one end of the table with a stack of plates in front of him, and the food was brought and put in front of him, and he served the plates and passed them on around. This was no mean skill in serving, because as these people grew older, they're more persnickety, where their attitudes toward what they wanted to eat and what they didn't want to eat. And these idiosyncrasies were catered to. And, well, particularly the salads. The mother had to make at least 6 different kinds of salads, because one wanted 2 leaves of lettuce, another one couldn't eat any onions, another one wanted 1 slice of tomato, and others 3 slices of tomato, and so forth. And these were all trademarked salads.
But Papa didn't serve the salads, Paul.
No, not the salads, but the same thing held true of all the other things that he served.
Oh, well.
So he had to know that Margaret wouldn't have any broccoli?
Yeah, and, well, broccoli wasn't invented.
Oh.
But I know I was sitting down at the other end of the table next to Mama, and so I would get one of the first plates down that side, and finally he would get all the plates around served, and he was about to serve his own when my plate came back for another load. And because I was a bottomless pit, you know, skinny as a rail, and all the rest of these nice, solid people, you know, they were more easily satisfied. But they all had individual preferences, and the family was accustomed to a rather stereotyped diet, and they were accustomed to various sorts of dishes like fried breadcrumbs and things that they all had grown up on, good Depression food. But they were not about to have any deviation by any foreign substances on this table. And I know on one occasion after I had married Janet, and Mama had to go back east. I think the funeral of her mother.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And she was concerned that nobody could cook for these people. So she contracted with my wife to come in and cook for them, figuring also that would give us more to eat. She was worried about whether I was getting fed properly. So Janet came to cook, and Janet was not about to let these people tell her what good cooking was. And so the first thing she tried was pork chops with mushroom gravy. A delicious dish. But these people have never eaten mushrooms. And but she cooked it and brought it in and had it served, and the looks around this table. She said she would never forget.
Did they eat it?
Well, they got through the meal, I guess. But it merely indicated a kind of perpetual adolescence, you know, with these people over 20 that had no real outlet, you know, for a normal development in many respects. This merely symbolic. But, and of course, then the war broke it up and sent them off where they lived with the world and got along somehow.
And they went off, and the three of them were in the Army, is that right?
Yeah.
Dean and Bud and Henry?
Yeah. Dean and Bud and Henry, yeah. We're in the Army, and eventually Grace went to Washington, and of course Margaret was married, and all of us split. I went to teach school in St. Helens Hall in Portland, and Bob went
to Tacoma, the
shipyards.
shipyards.
The shipyards. So, you know, they got out in the world.
Leaving Janet with Grandma?
Yeah.
Well, I think Janet went to San Francisco about that time.
Yeah. And she got away then, and then ended up in Seattle.
I don't think there was anybody here at one time.
No.
Or in Eugene. Yeah.
And that happened, you know, quite suddenly.
Wow.
Yeah.
It must have been an abrupt empty nest syndrome
That's
for
right.
Grandma.
Yeah, it ended the Depression, and it ended the, you know, the confined, natural confined structure of that family. Yeah.
You know, one thing you didn't talk about was sniffing the chairs.
Well, that's back in Seattle.
Well, you can talk about it. I can put it in.
Well, that was just a, I don't know where it started particularly, but that was something that Janet and Paul and I did when they would hold these meetings committee meetings of the
Yeah, the hierarchy of the,
the church
clergy,
there.
the clergy.
They would come in my dad's study, and he had the chairs sitting
Was
around his
that in the
desk.
living room? In the living room.
Oh, was it that? Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess that's true. Yeah,
Because they
yeah,
had some large,
that's true. That's
some
true.
large armchairs there.
That's right. And anyhow, they would stay for 2 or 3 hours and discuss all this, whatever, the business of the church.
Yeah.
And then when they left, then we would immediately go in there and start at the one end and end at the other end and sniff all the chairs and see if the thing was to
Identify.
yes, and to identify particularly Dr. Kunzman. I remember that very clearly. He was the big wheel in the whole business, and we were trying to identify him by smell. Well, in actuality, there was quite a difference in odors. And I don't know why, where we started that sort of thing, but it was simply a game to be able to identify these people.
Yes, but how did you ever know? How could you ever check?
Well, you couldn't really. Yeah, you couldn't really, unless you happened to go and see what chair Kunzman was sitting in, you know. But we seldom did because I think they closed the doors or something. I don't know, but it was just I don't know whether, you know.
Oh, a game of little animals.
Yes, yes, yeah, and it was a great sport, you know, and the whole thing was to find out that there were different odors of people. Well,
What would your mother have said had she known?
Well, I'm sure she knew, but
Really?
I don't know if she did.
Well, why not? It was
there was so much of our activity that was clandestine.
Well, but
Yeah.
it was a
Most of it,
a
as
harmless thing, you
As
see.
Bob said, his whole mission in life was to avoid contact with a heroin.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't.
No, but there you are in
and
the
we
house
became
there.
very skillful at it.
There you are in the house. I don't think. I think she knew, but it's harmless kind of thing.
Well,
What the hell
sure,
is
I'm
the
not
difference?
suggesting that we were all terribly delinquent.
No.
Except that
Dangerous.
we did what normal little animals did, and most of it would be offensive. to
Well, I don't know any
good
animals
Christian
that did
people.
do that, really. I never heard of any animals that
Well,
did.
did Margaret do that?
Oh, no, Margaret didn't do that, no. But, I mean,
What would Margaret have
No,
said?
oh yeah, no, she would have been mortally offended.
oh, I'm sure she would, yes.
Yes, of course.
Here's
Because
what I
Thank you.
there's something immoral there about that, but, yeah, it was a harmless little thing. And I'm not sure how it ever got started, but it did, and it was fun, and we guessed, and we never actually totally knew whether we were right or not.
Oh no, speculation.
Unless, I don't know. But it was a fun thing. We should mention these things, Paul.
Okay, go
As
ahead.
long as we're doing that.
Yeah,
these
go
are
ahead.
just, you know, on the way up here we were thinking about the old cars that existed back in the
In the 20s, yeah.
yeah, 20s or even even before that. But we were just naming some of them. The Rio, which was an old car. The Star, which was kind of a cheap little car. The Willys Knight, which was a sleeve valve outfit. The Pierce Arrow, which was rather an elegant outfit.
Yeah, and it had the headlights molded into the front fenders.
Right, yeah, you could always tell a Pierce Arrow. The Franklin was one that was an air-cooled outfit, always had a slanted front end on it.
Yeah, because it didn't need a radiator.
Yeah.
Oh, because it was air-cooled.
Chalmers, I don't know, I don't remember the Chalmers.
Well, it was a medium-sized car.
Was it?
Yeah.
The Overland was a kind of a cheap little car, kind of the Ford of the group.
Ford and Chev category.
Packard, now Packard was a rather an elegant car. The Turners had a Packard that had the jump seats in them,
Yeah.
and so that you could take the whole family in there.
Yeah, and the Packard and the Cadillac, those
Yeah.
were the two most elegant cars.
Cadillac has remained that way the whole
Cadillac
time, huh?
has, yeah, it stayed that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Oakland, which was a kind of a medium price thing.
Yeah, it was another General Motors car.
Now the Stanley steamer, there was a steamer based somewhere up around our place, because we used to, when he'd get this cranked up, it ran on steam, you know, and when he'd get it cranked up, we'd always see it coming down the street, we'd run after it, you know, because it was quite a...
And it was trailing a vapor behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really quite a different thing. And there was the electric car, which a little elegant ladies drove, which, let's see, it didn't have a tiller instead of a wheel?
Yeah, it had a tiller instead of a steering wheel.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And
Real
they
little, like
just stepped on the, you know, there weren't any gears to it.
No gears.
No, and you just stepped on the accelerator to go faster.
And it was elegant in that it was all glass enclosed, and it had little glass bud vases
yeah.
on sides and velvet curtains.
Yeah, and the little curtains had little
Tassels on them.
tassels. Yeah. Yeah. There's only one or two of those around, huh?
Noiseless?
Yes, it was noiseless.
Noiseless completely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there was no gears, no anything. It was just.
Did it plug in back at?
Well, you
the house?
charged batteries, you know.
Yeah.
It ran on batteries, and you recharged the batteries.
Big battery. Yeah.
Well, what if they ran out of?
Oh, they were only good for running around town.
Oh.
Yeah.
Couldn't take trips with them.
Yeah. But the little ladies could, you know, run to the store or run to the hairdresser or the milliners or some other thing, you see, and buzz back and not have to worry about shifting gears, nasty old steering wheel, you know, that kind of thing.
Would it have enough power in those hills in Seattle?
I don't think it would.
Yeah,
I don't think it could go up the hills, could it?
That's the one thing about electric cars. They have tremendous power. Yeah, they could go up anything. Yeah. Their acceleration rate is just fantastic. They couldn't go over 20 miles an hour.
Now here's a Rickenbacker. That was a pretty big car. That was named after Eddie Rickenbacker, the
Aviator.
yeah, he was an ace in the war, and he came out, and it was a pretty good sized car.
Yeah, didn't last very long.
No, there was the Essex, which with the Hudson were kind of a duo outfit. And the thing I remember about the Essex is that it was such a square back. It came to the thing and then it was cut off at the back. No elegance, no nothing, no appearance of anything. Hudson was a little bit bigger than.
Well, you much very large car. Yeah, because Manning's had Hudsons.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Then the Duesenberg. Now that was one that.
I think that was a foreign car.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Paul mentioned that Henry and Lee Hine bought one together and tried to get it fixed up and to run, and
never was practical.
No, no.
They kind of gave it up.
Yeah. But it was, you know, an elegant thing that young kids or young fellas might be tempted to do. And I don't know. There were lots of other cars. I don't remember them, but at least, you know, as little kids, we knew these cars very well.
And worshipped all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and could pick out the good ones from the bad ones. That was great passion.
Yeah, but there were,
There's
you
so
know,
many
in
different
this day and
varieties,
age, huh?
There's so many different varieties, so many different makes
That's right.
that
Yeah.
there aren't now.
That's right. No. And there, you know, there's three, well, not now, since the Japanese got into it, but.
And the Chrysler and Durant came out
That's right.
in the early, see, they were about 26, I think. And the Durant didn't last, but the Chrysler was the beginning of a whole Chrysler line.
Yeah.
Walter Chrysler was a great magnate in his day.
Yeah, and there's still others that we haven't just recalled to memory, but there were a great number of cars. In other words, you had a great many choices.
Yeah.
Which you don't have today.
And you could buy a good piece of transportation for $500.
Wow. A
Yeah.
new one?
Yeah.
New one. New.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but
That's
$500, my gosh. That would be equivalent to something like 100,000.
Well, what did gas cost then?
Oh, it was way down, 13, 14 cents.
Yeah.
And they had regular gas stations? I mean, they were...
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But gas stations...
Hand pump.
That's right.
You had to hand pump them?
No,
Oh,
but
No.
no, the man who ran the thing, but he pumped this thing up and it came up in a big glass cage thing. Then when he got it full and it ran over and ran down to zero, you know, then he would take the hose and let it, you know, fill your tank, and when it got down to 5 gallons or 6 gallons or 7 gallons or 8 gallons, whatever it was, that's the way you did it.
Yeah, and they didn't have gas gauges. Yeah, you opened the tank, and you took a wooden stick, which was graduated, and put it in the tank to see how much gas you had.
Oh, no.
Yep.
So you would often run out?
Oh, sure.
Oh, goodness.
Well, you know, driving was
Nobody went 800 miles.
hazardous in those days because
two-wheel brakes.
Yeah, two-wheel brakes, which burned out frequently,
Yeah.
so you didn't have any brakes on a long hill. But also, the tires were not good, and so anytime you had to make a trip to Tacoma, which is 35 miles away, you had at least one. You had to stop and change tires at least once.
You had to change tires?
You bet. Or patch your own tube.
Patch your tube?
And then you hand pumped it up.
Yeah.
What kind of roads are you talking about? Asphalt?
Gravel.
Yeah.
Gravel to Tacoma?
Oh, yes. Well, what do they call that road now? You know, it's the old 99 road.
Military?
I don't know.
Oh, I forgot the name, but anyway. But it went down along the edge of the sound for the most part. Yeah, instead of back up on the hill the way the freeway is.
Swipes were hand swipes. You had a handle inside in front of your windshield, and when it got too bad, you swiped it off. You know.
No.
Oh yeah, nothing. No automatic swipes.
Yeah, and one guy invented a real innovation. He had two swipes on the car.
Yeah.
By one
Yeah, they
handle
were
and
linked
two
together
swipes?
by a little cross arm.
And no heaters. No heater.
Well, of course not.
No, you didn't have a heater in there.
But so all the people in the back seat, at least, they wore lap robes,
Yeah.
heavy woolen lap robes.
Well, didn't they? Now, what about wind chills? Were they up? Yeah, there were
Straight
wind
up.
chills big enough that
Yeah.
Oh yes,
Totally.
very high,
Yeah.
very
they
high.
very hard.
And the tops were all cloth and kind of what was put on the top of them, kind of a
Yeah, well, like patent leather,
yeah.
you know, a coating, which
Yeah.
peeled very soon and
It
had to be
did right.
replaced.
It did.
Or that, or you got some more paint like that stuff and painted over it,
Yeah.
which made it a
Yeah.
very bad looking thing, but made it more waterproof. Also, you had side curtains that snapped on there and had isinglass little windows in them to kind of keep the rain and wind out of the car. I mean, that was primitive. They all had running boards too. That's another thing. They had a running board, which was, went between the two fenders, and you stepped on that to get into the car. you know. They,
No trunks, of course.
Oh, no trunks?
No trunks at all. And if you were going camping or something, I put a rack along the outside of the running board and piled all the stuff
yeah,
on the driver's side.
your tent and your
Tent and all the rest of that.
yeah. All your
Just
food.
piled on the.
Oh, your food?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where else you gonna get it there?
No. Did you camp?
Well, yeah, we used to go over to the coast. What was that Indian reservation thing that was there? That little town. We used to go over to the coast.
La Push.
La Push, yeah.
Yeah, La Push, clear up by the mouth of the Straits of Juan de Fuca.
Mm-hmm.
And we also used to go over to Lake Chelan.
Oh yeah, Eastern.
Oh my
Eastern
God!
Washington.
Yeah, and
Clear over the mountains in a car? like
yeah,
Yeah.
that was quite a trip.
Oh well, some people went cross country, to the East Coast.
Yeah, but
Well, were there motels? Were there
Very seldom.
restaurants?
Very
Well,
primitive. Very primitive.
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
What did they call them? They didn't call them hotels.
No, they didn't call them hotels.
Hostels?
No, forgotten what it was, but they were, they had, most of them had flush toilets, running water, and a bed, and that's it.
Well, some of them had outhouses too. Yeah, common outhouses.
I mean, how many miles can you make in a day? How fast were you going?
Well, you couldn't go very fast
No,
because the roads weren't
no.
that good.
Yeah, 25 miles an hour. 30 was getting terribly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the tires were very thin. As Paul says, a sharp rock could go through it, and then you'd have to stop. That's why generally people traveled in 2s or 3s in cars, I mean, 3 cars or 2 cars. So if one had a blowout, what they call blowouts, then everybody else would stop, and then they'd get out, and then they'd take off. And generally, often you had 2 or 3 tires tied on the back of the car.
Yeah.
And you had to change the tire with a tire iron. You had to change the tire out there on the road and patch the tube, and then put the thing all back together again, pump it all up with a hand pump, Oh boy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a rough go.
Yeah, but exciting. Exciting because you didn't get to do it very often.
No, that's right. That's true.
And in your family, it would only be part of the family that got to go?
Half
Yeah.
of the family.
Yeah.
See, half of the family would go on a vacation at a time.
But it seems like Papa went every time, didn't he?
I think he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Grandma
Well, he was
never went?
expendable. Huh?
Did Grandma never go? Your mother never
Yes,
went?
yes, but not too frequently.
No,
because
no.
somebody had to take care of their others.
Yeah, but I think at least it was a relief for her to have half of them gone.
Yeah.
You think she really intended to have so many kids?
Well, I know you have
Well,
to-
let's see. She once commented on that. Oh, I think she was talking to Janet, my wife, and she said when she got married, she didn't really expect to have that many children, but she guessed that God just meant it that way. God and Janet. Oh, and then my comment to Janet was God and my father.
Well, large families, were the thing back there.
Oh yes, yes.
I noticed in one of those on the genealogy list there that there's one of those men had 14 children, and he had 64 grandchildren. So I don't see why there aren't Beistels spread from coast to coast,
But they're
Well,
not.
disease took care of that pretty largely, and it was one reason why families were originally large when necessary, because they needed so many field hands.
Yeah.
You know, but and with primitive medicine, you know.
Isn't it amazing that you all survived though? 8 kids, nobody died from.
That's right. No, there's some strange things in that genetic line, and one can talk about the incredible health habits of some of that family, like Grace, you know, who lived on the most impossible diet. Um, well, she ended up, you know, with Coca-Cola and potato chips,
M&Ms.
and all, you know, M&Ms, yeah. And here she is in her 80s. Why?
Actually, Grandpa had a real strong strain. He wasn't so frail afterwards. After all,
Well,
probably.
yeah, as far as survival is concerned.
And he lived till 80.
Yeah,
Grandpa.
that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Did his father? His father didn't live, did he?
No, his father didn't live that long. No.
I don't. Well, I suppose it's on the genealogy.
Well, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
But you didn't know his father, did you?
Huh?
His father wasn't alive when you guys were kids.
I didn't know
His
him.
mother was.
But
Yes.
you know, another note on that. You know, the poverty diet
Oh.
was largely high carbohydrate. We couldn't afford meat. You know, if we had meat once a week, that was it.
Wow.
And my mother really very suspicious of meat not being very healthy.
Really?
Yeah. That you shouldn't eat too much of that stuff. Well, she was right. You know, and you see what happened in her family. You know, the male line just about got wiped out. You know, with cardiovascular disease. But
So what did you have? What do you mean carbohydrates? Did you have beans? And I mean, what did you eat
Yeah.
for protein?
We ate lots of beans.
lots of beans
Yeah.
and potatoes. You know, we always bought 50-pound sacks of potatoes. And apples, of course, and fruit was quite plentiful.
Yeah.
Not a hell of a lot of green vegetables, though. Because so much of the year they weren't available, except those old canned peas, you know, which all the nutrition is gone from. But a lot of dairy products.
Well, we ate a lot of bread too because she baked bread. You
Yeah,
know.
she baked a lot of bread.
Yeah, it was good bread.
Fantastic
Gee.
amount of wheat.
You know, I never got tired of her beans and that fresh baked bread.
Didn't you make bread without salt or something? I remember the taste of her bread.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really
boy,
good.
it
It
was
was salted.
Well, Robbie made her bread, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Robbie got the formula, and Robbie baked some bread.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
Well, why would she
Coleslaw.
take that on then?
Huh?
Baking her own bread when she already had
Oh yeah.
gobs of stuff to do.
Yeah. No, it was cheap.
Oh.
No, that was the important thing.
Yeah.
Well, we
There was
did
no
have-
money in her family. I mean, her father had a shoe factory, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, but he felt ill from typhoid fever, and his health was affected thereafter, and they moved and moved and moved and moved until they were in Ohio, and they were in Michigan, and several other places, and then they finally, Detroit, they were in Detroit, and then they moved to St. Paul permanently, and he sold the business. But
They were Canadian, right? Were they
yes,
Canadian?
yeah, and he was well. he was at sea, you know, for he came directly from England, and he was in a family of 8 kids, I think, or something like that. And he left and went out to sea and was at sea for about 8 years or something like that. Then stopped in Canada and learned the shoemaking business and bought the business and was going fairly well when this typhoid hit him, and he never recovered from it.
It's the sister's name was Marion, right? You can
Oh,
remember
yeah,
her sister's
that's right.
name, Marion.
Yeah, Marion.
And there's a nice
Marion.
picture of her. That
Yeah.
look in there, right?
Yeah.
You have a nice picture of her, and it looks like Karen to me.
Well, it does somewhat,
Looks
yeah.
very much.
Well, this picture
Marion.
of Marion, there's
Oh,
there's
well,
a picture of her in here.
yeah.
There's a real strong strain of you that I see in that. You know, in Marion and a couple of other
Marion.
people. It looks like your kids.
Does that look like Karen?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'll have to point that out to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and her younger, Emily, too, that
Yeah,
has some of that same.
yeah. Very definite look. And he has your lips. You have his lips. Excuse me.
I have his lip.
Yeah, those are your lips.
Well, it seemed like she has those lips too.
Yeah.
Sure she does. Okay, why don't we just try this focusing down. That's the one that you think looks like Karen.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the one you think has my lips. And I would say that she has the same
Oops.
as he does.
You have to hold it towards me a little bit. I'm getting a glare there. And so that's Arthur, Grandma's brother.
Yeah,
And that's where Bud got his name.
yeah.
And then that's Marion. Why was Bud called Bud?
I wouldn't know. I never did.
I don't know. No, that's just a common nickname that really stuck hard. Yeah.
Mm.
He's the only one that had a nickname.
Right, I thought, well, way back in Greenville, there wouldn't be any Bud. And
Oh no.
Papa refers to him as Bud.
Yeah.
Well, why was Bud Bud, and the rest of us had to be Robert or
Yeah.
something else?
Or Bobby.
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 Oh, that's right. Bobby.
Bobby. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Well, see, Paul doesn't lend itself,
No.
but Bobby. And so, it's funny, Janet didn't have a nickname, being the baby that she was. Now, is that his right there
Hey, you.
underneath Marion? Is that Grandpa's sisters?
Is this here?
Yeah. Is that the family?
I don't think so. I don't know. Oh, no, that's the Keynes family.
Oh.
That's the Keynes family.
Well, why are there so many of them? There were just...
Well, because I think that was the family at the time he moved to St. Paul, and he was the visiting pastor. I would
Oh,
take
yeah. Okay. Yes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and that's where he picked her up. Yeah.
That's where he picked her up?
Yep.
Okay, now.
this baby right here.
Yeah. It's like Margaret had a whole lot of paraphernalia as a baby. You know, she had that baby book and had a walker and things that I didn't know existed.
Well, here's classic. The whole thing, focus on the whole thing, because these are pictures of Papa when he was, one of them, at least one of them, is a tintype.
Wow.
Did I give you that tintype?
No.
I had it, and I don't know what it happened to. And there he is, rather young.
Yeah.
And here he is amongst this, well, I don't know what group that is, but...
Well, yeah, some of the people from the seminary, I think.
Oh, I think it was the Napoleonic group. Look at their hands.
Yeah, there's one here, see?
Oh, they both have them. Look.
Yeah.
That
see?
one, too. Which
Oh,
one's
that was-
Grandpa?
Yeah.
Common pose.
Yeah. That's right.
But there's a sickly little bicycle.
Oh, there he is. Sickly. I
yeah,
don't
but
think
he
he's...
doesn't look so sickly here.
No.
No, he's pretty sickly.
He's pretty poetic, perhaps.
Here's the poetic.
Oh, yeah, that one up the top.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Shakespeare himself.
Yeah, the orator.
And there's the one that everybody can't quite figure out what he's doing with that whiskey bottle and cigarette in his mouth.
Well, Margaret lays the blame on that other man who's a minister.
Well, I know,
Yeah.
but you can't blame him for it.
Oh, I know, but your father did no evil.
Well, here, no, that, yeah.
He was
There's
really a
Mom and
cute
some of her
man.
hats, huh?
He was a cute man.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, she was a beautiful woman,
Yeah.
I thought.
She was. I mean, we unfortunately
she
didn't.
really never got a chance to, to express her womanhood. She was just a family drudge.
Yeah. Wasn't she really intelligent, or did you feel she was intelligent? No?
Not too.
Oh.
I don't think.
What?
And she wasn't a smart. No.
Well, again, that's not quite true, I don't think, because she got overwhelmed with taking care of that family.
Yes,
see,
that's
but
true. Yeah.
I think prior to that, see, she was involved in her father's business, for instance. She was involved heavily in that before he sold it.
Yeah.
So she had some background of business.
Yeah, and she had some training.
Oh, was he really intelligent, Grandpa? Where'd all this...
Yes, he was.
Oh yes, he was
bright
an
man.
intelligent man.
He was an intelligent man. Yeah.
Well, he graduated valedictorian.
Oh, he did?
Oh yeah, in Thiel, in his class.
Mm-hmm.
And he got a lot of background of Greek and Latin and all this kind of stuff that you did in those days, if you got an education.
Mm-hmm.
He taught school. And he got, he had other things. He got his DD from Midland, I guess. I forgot which one.
Yeah.
There's the...
Oh, here's the chipmunk suit.
Yeah.
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 Right there? Oh, that's the chipmunk suit.
Yeah, with the stripes on the shoulders.
Oh.
Yeah, I think we've got another picture of it around here.
And yours?
Well, there's kind of the classic picture of the three of us, Bud, Paul, and myself.
Yeah, and that would be about the time we moved out too. To
Oh. I bet it is.
Yeah.
Huh.
And here's the chipmunk suit again, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, look at Janet.
Yeah.
Pretty cute. And there you are. Looks like you're being held by somebody having your picture taken.
Yeah, well, somebody had a hold of me there. I don't know. I can just remember being very bothered about that whole business of wasting time taking pictures of people.
Oh, and then who did it to his own children?
Yeah.
Well, important.
Point of view changed thereafter.
There is the kind of the classic family picture there. That was the one that was always posted around the house.
Yeah, I think that was just before when we came down to Eugene.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, because that's in that photo studio.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Here's the first car, the 26 Chevrolet.
That's the one Paul got in?
Yeah, that's the one Paul got in
Taken
and
away?
out of illegally.
And there's Laddie, huh?
Oh, there's Lassie.
Oh, Lassie.
Lassie. That was the dog we had. That was a collie we had in Seattle.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, there's more
Family as it grew.
this is a photo of oh,
Yeah,
I thought,
that's the 5 in college at the same time.
that's right, yeah,
So that's during the Depression.
yeah, yeah.
There's the thing with the shoe you were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you have different pictures in yours.
I do?
I don't have that. Those.
Here, what was the year of that old Buick we had?
Oh gosh,
Oh,
don't
wooden
know.
spokes and,
yeah,
gosh.
yeah, and you don't get the whole picture of it in here either. It isn't very good. Yeah,
So that had a solid top, right?
yeah, that was a two-door
Well, but it wasn't a,
two-door sedan.
oh, is it, no, it had the same old top, didn't it?
No, it's an enclosed car.
Yeah, it's an enclosed car, but I mean, see the top, is the top,
Oh yes, yes,
well,
it wasn't a steel top.
yeah.
No.
Mm.
Well, here's that thing you were telling me about, Paul, the
Oh.
sled with the,
Yeah, I forgot about this picture. But yeah, in the cold weather, yeah, we had that they had for the young kids with a sheepskin cover.
So you all used that? That wasn't just Margaret? You had that?
Oh, I remember riding in the sled.
Oh, you do?
Oh yeah.
that was back in, yeah. That's about the pictures, Chris.
Okay, that's a good. No, it hit the notes, but the quality wasn't all that attractive.
And then Margaret played the accompaniment? Margaret
Yes,
and-
Yeah,
yeah,
Margaret was
she,
the company.
she was the organist.
Why did... Who wanted to start a church in Eugene? There's already a Lutheran church, wasn't there? Why did he go there and start?
Yeah, well, there was a
Norwegian.
was it Norwegian?
Yeah.
Norwegian church.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see that nationality thing was terribly strong in all these churches. You know, there was the German Lutheran Church, the Grace Lutheran Church. You know, down on 17th. Well, I mean, it's now on 17th. It used to be on 11th and Mill.
Yeah.
Beautiful church it
Yeah.
was. And then out in Danabo, they had 2 or 3 of them. Emmaus and Danabo. And,
I just remember 2 out there. I don't
and
remember.
even
Why?
one
Was that
other,
a certain
I think.
Lutheran section of town? Why would they have...
Well, they were Scandinavian.
Yeah.
Oh.
Danish, principally.
Well, this church that broke
this
off
was
from the
supposed to be,
Norwegians.
yeah. The American Lutheran Church was a Swedish church.
Well, I
This
don't
was the
remember.
United Lutheran Synod, which had nothing to do with any of the other nationalities, not restricted to any other nationality.
And that was... I mean, what was Teal? Teal was a Lutheran... Was Teal Lutheran?
Yeah, it was Lutheran, but see, you know, the others
Well,
really.
it would be German, if anything, because this is Pennsylvania Dutch country.
Yeah, but
I don't think there was any language.
no language problem. Pavel
I
constantly in
bet.
there says that even though they were all German, that there was no, they were all Americans. They spoke English.
Yeah.
You know, they had the English customs. They did that sort of thing, but they were primarily German background.
Descent, yeah.
But your father's name is German, right?
Oh yes, yeah.
Beistel. Was Peistel?
Oh,
Is
no.
that what you remember it? It was Peistel?
Beistel, well, that was on the old graveyard. Got in, what is it, Mount? Mount Pleasant.
Oh, Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant, probably. Church graveyard.
Somebody found it,
Yeah, my father found it.
and he decided that was.
Yeah, the earliest he could find. Beistel, and the German pronunciation, they explode their pronunciation. Beistel. So you don't know when they try to write it down whether it should be a P or a B, because there's about one has more force than the other, and that's the only distinction between the sound.
So nobody ever traced Peistels back to Germany?
No. I don't know.
No, actually, Ephraim here is the first known.
Yeah.
And they didn't even know what, or he didn't even know what his Ephraim's wife's name was. The guy that's 1776,
Yeah.
but. And it's quite possible he is the one that came over here.
Yeah.
And if so, if he's the guy that came over, then the name is Beistel, because if he came over, there might have been some Peistels that come over too. You see, at the same time, because
Well, no, I would say, most of those things weren't written down anyway.
No, they weren't.
And it was just by word of mouth, and Peistel and Beistel.
No, but the point is that
distinction.
Ephraim's isn't necessarily the one buried there, the Beistel. Either that, or it doesn't have any bearing. There was a Beistel who maybe. See, there's no. You can't tie it together to Beistel.
Oh, not necessarily,
No.
but what you know of the fact that most things were carried on by word of mouth rather than written.
Yeah.
Our custom is everything is written. Hell, you're talking
Or recorded someplace. Yeah.
18th century. The habits in the backwoods were almost entirely oral. Almost nothing written.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It could be Peistel.
Well, let's put